This is Jenny Kunkel, and in this video we're going to go ahead and install Docker Desktop for Windows and enable the Windows subsystem for Linux. All of this is requirements for running Docker on a Windows computer. To begin our installation of Docker Desktop, one of the very first things that we need to do is we need to navigate to the docker.com/products/personal page. We can take a look at the stipulation for using Docker Personal. It's for our own personal use, it's for education, it's for open source, small business, or startups. We fit that bill, so we can go ahead and create a login and start our installation of Docker Personal. Now I can sign up for a new account, and I'm going to use the sign-in option for that. You can go through the sign up for free here, but it's also available on the sign-in option. If I right-click and open in a new tab, because I want to get back to this page later on, I can go ahead and enter my username and password if I already have one, and continue. If I do not have an account, I can go through the sign-up process down below, and I would use your Rock Valley College email account to do that sign-up process. I can go ahead and hit continue, enter my password, and then I can go ahead and close out. Now going back to the original page, I want to access the Get Started. I'm going to open the Learn How to Install Docker in a new tab because I want to get back to this page. And before I get started, I want to take a look at the setup and any prerequisites that are needed. So I can expand the setup under Docker Desktop, expand the install, and go to the Windows. Once I'm on the Windows, I can go ahead and look at my requirements. And the very first requirement is that I need to have Windows 11 or Windows 10. It has to be 64-bit. I require at least 4 GB of system RAM, and I need to be able to enable hardware virtualization in BIOS. Okay, so one of the options that I need to check is first my Windows version that I'm running. So if I can go into my settings down below, get into the system, scroll down to the About, and take a look at my Windows 11 Home Edition. I'm running version 23H2. If I go back and compare that to the version that's the minimum, and that is Home or Pro 22H2, then I'm good there. The next thing I want to do is I want to look at the WSL2 backend, and one of the options that I need to use to turn on the WSL2 features on Windows is the Microsoft documentation. So I'm going to open that in a new window. And one of the things that it has here, as I scroll down, is a PowerShell command that I can use. So if I'm using a later version of Windows 10 or Windows 11, I should be able to run the PowerShell version. If I'm running one of the older versions that requires me to go through and do the manual installation, it's going to provide me with all the different steps that I can manually step through in PowerShell and execute. So I would have to do the enable of the Windows subsystem in PowerShell. Then I would come down and check the requirements for the WSL2, make sure that that was okay. Enable the virtual machine feature again in PowerShell. Go through the downloading of the Linux kernel update package. Continue with setting my WSL2 as my default version. Install the Linux distribution of choice. We should be installing Ubuntu, which should be the default. And then it's going to pretty much do the same type of process as what the script has for us here. Now, in my case, since I'm running Windows 11, I should be able to just copy this, and I should be able to launch PowerShell. When I launch PowerShell, if you've never used this before, this is more of a command line mode that we can enter commands and execute them on Windows. I want to run this as an administrator, so I'm going to right-click and run as administrator. It's going to bring up a user account control window dialog that says, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device, and it gives the name Windows PowerShell, verified publisher Microsoft Windows. I'm going to go ahead and hit yes, and then it's going to bring up my Windows PowerShell dialog window here that I can actually enter my commands. So I'm going to copy and paste in the command and run it. You can see that it's going through and enabling some of the features. It's installing Ubuntu at this point. And then it's indicating that the changes will not be effective until the system is rebooted. Now I'm going to go ahead and download the Docker desktop version before I actually do my reboot and close the window. Now if I just go ahead and do a back, I can scroll up and I can choose to install Docker Desktop on Windows. I can also go through and use the Docker download here, but I'm going to just do it from here. And my computer is an Intel chip, so I'm going to pick the Docker Desktop for Windows x86_64 and download that. Now I want to go ahead and reboot my computer, and I will be back as soon as the reboot is completed. Now that I've gone ahead and done the reboot and my WSL2 is all in effect, I can go ahead and install Docker Desktop. If for some reason there's something wrong with my WSL2 when I install Docker Desktop, it's going to indicate that there's problems. Now it's giving me a user account control window again that says, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? And this is going to be Docker Desktop installer from Docker Inc. I'm going to say yes, and then it should bring up the dialog and go through the configuration here. I want to put the shortcut on the desktop. You can see it unpacking all the files. This should take a few minutes. And now we must go ahead and restart again. Sometimes it doesn't give you the restart message, sometimes it does. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and do one more restart. After the reboot, I can go ahead and look for the Docker Desktop icon and click on it to open Docker. It's going to give me the Docker subscription service agreement. You should go ahead and read the subscription service agreement, the Docker data processing agreement, and the data privacy policy, and the terms before accepting. I've already done that, so I'm going to go ahead and accept. I'm going to go ahead and skip this portion. I've already created an account. I can go ahead and skip this option for the survey. If you want to fill it out, you can. I can then go ahead and sign in to Docker. I need to have that connection to Docker Hub in order to be able to pull images. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. Once I do that, it's automatically going to indicate and show that I am signed in using the personal account. This is where we want to leave off for the next video, where we're going to walk through how to create the containers for this class.